Let's just dive right into the ultimate storytelling blind spot of artificial intelligence today and skip the pleasantries. If you've ever read an AI-generated story and felt it was just completely soulless, even though the grammar was absolutely flawless, you're definitely not alone. There's this palpable flatness to algorithmic prose, right? It feels way more like you're reading a Wikipedia summary of a story rather than the story itself. So, in this explainer, we're going to explore the actual underlying mechanics of why large language models are completely failing to grasp the essence of human storytelling, specifically narrative friction.
Take a look at this quote. A great scene is rarely about what the characters are explicitly discussing. This profound literary maxim perfectly captures what makes writing truly human. It's that unspoken tension living right there between the lines. Think about your absolute favorite film or book for a second. The real story isn't the direct dialogue, it's the nervous twitch, the deliberate avoidance of eye contact, or that heavy, suffocating silence after a big question is asked. That is subtext. It's literally the invisible dark matter of a narrative, and it's exactly what holds a compelling story together. Now compare human subtext with AI output. A human author deliberately withholds information, relying on physical cues, tense silences, and unstated motives to build up this irresistible narrative tension. They trust you, the reader, to connect the dots. But in AI, it instantly ruins the magic by flat-out over-explaining the internal state. It'll just hand you a line like, "She couldn't hide her immense grief." It completely robs you of the psychological payoff, that incredibly satisfying experience of discovering the grief for yourself through context and action.
Today, we're breaking down independent researcher Levent Bulut's fascinating paper on why LLMs systematically destroy narrative friction and how we can protect human creativity. On the agenda, we've got 1. AI storytelling blind spot, 2. The architecture of subtext, 3. LLM summarization bias, 4. The benchmark failure, and 5. Preserving human subtext.
All right, Section 1. AI's storytelling blind spot.
Let's identify exactly what happens under the hood when you ask ChatGPT, or really any generative AI, to write a highly emotional scene. You inevitably get lines exactly like this. A sense of jealousy filled the room. Instead of trusting you to feel the tension through carefully curated sensory details, like a character gripping their glass so tightly their knuckles turn white, or a sudden icy drop in conversation, the AI just declares the emotion as a matter of historical record. It inserts these flat, repetitive declarative sentences, which effectively strips all the intrigue and emotional resonance right out of the narrative.
Moving on to Section 2, the architecture of subtext.
To really understand why AI does this, we have to look at the Bulut doctrine, which contrasts two highly distinct modes of delivering information. First up is the told mode, where emotional or informational content is declared explicitly right on the surface. The reader is totally spoon-fed, doing minimal cognitive reconstruction. Conversely, the shown mode withholds the true meaning at the surface level, encoding it entirely into physical, objective cues. Imagine a character aggressively scrubbing a perfectly clean frying pan. The surface text is just about washing dishes, but the underlying meaning, the subtext, is unresolved anger. The shown mode forces the audience into active cognitive reconstruction.
So the crucial point here is that subtext isn't just literary magic. It's a measurable metric called the Suppressed Information Index, or SI. SI represents the count per minute of reading time of unstated information units implied by physical cues. A high SI means you are making the reader work for it. They have to actively engage to piece the scene together, kind of like detectives in your world. And that active cognitive engagement is exactly what drives your narrative momentum. It's what keeps a reader turning pages at 2 in the morning.
Let's jump into Section 3, LLM summarization bias.
So, why is AI so spectacularly bad at maintaining a high suppressed information index? Why can't it just leave the clues on the table for us to find? Well, it's because token optimization essentially equals the death of subtext. Language models are hardwired for what's called summarization bias. Think about how these models are built. They're trained on unimaginably vast datasets to predict the most highly probable, token-efficient, and explicitly clear next word. Their entire goal is low perplexity and absolute clarity. In their algorithmic logic, ambiguity is an error. So, when an AI encounters your beautifully crafted, implicit sensory details, it treats them as inefficient noise that literally needs to be fixed and clarified for the user.
This triggers a literal directional collapse inside the machine. Let's trace the steps. Step 1. You input a shown scene full of implicit subtext. Maybe it's a scene with an untuned radio buzzing in the background and a forgotten cold cup of coffee. Step 2, the LLM applies compression. It runs its token optimization algorithms and completely erases all that wonderful sensory friction because it views it as irrelevant fluff. And then step 3, it spits out an explicit summary tag. The model takes your atmospheric masterpiece, collapses it entirely into the told mode, and simply declares he was feeling very anxious.
Which brings us to Section 4, the benchmark failure.
Now, you might be wondering, do we actually have empirical data to prove this collapse in AI comprehension? Absolutely we do. Researchers tested major AI models against blind human baselines using the materialized metaphor rule. This is the concept of recognizing when an abstract inner state is rendered as a concrete physical detail. For example, a character repeatedly checking a locked door. It is the absolute closest narrative feature to pure subtext on the textual surface. It requires the reader, or the AI, to look at a physical action and realize it actually represents an unspoken internal feeling, like paranoia or guilt.
The results of this 100-scene benchmark are hilariously stark. Out of the 100 held-out narrative scenes, the blind human annotator correctly identified subtextual materialization in 9 specific scenes. Now look at how the algorithms handled the exact same text. Grok was completely blind. It missed all of them, scoring an absolute 0, treating the subtext as literal noise. And Claude? Well, Claude went the total opposite direction. It panicked, hallucinated meaning everywhere, and overflagged 78 of the 100 scenes as having subtext.
Because the AI models either miss the subtext completely, treating it as irrelevant data like Grok, or frantically flag every single physical detail in the room as profound subtext like Claude, their chance-corrected reliability score crashes down to an abysmal 0.00. They literally have 0 reliability as literary judges for implicit meaning. They fundamentally cannot comprehend the unsaid.
Finally, Section 5, Preserving Human Subtext.
Since AI is mechanically incapable of evaluating or generating subtext, how do we writers defend our work from algorithmic flattening? Well, you need this 4-point anti-AI diagnostic checklist for your prose. Number 1, enforce an emotion tag embargo. Basically, ban all explicit emotion adverbs. Instead of saying a character looked anxiously, describe their rapid blinking. Number 2, the suppressed information test. Make sure character motives are inferred by the reader, never stated outright by the narrator. Number 3, purge over-explanation. Delete those algorithmic because clauses, like she cried because she felt helpless. Just let the tears stand alone. And number 4, inject atmosphere contradiction. Create friction, like having a warm, romantic conversation in a freezing, aggressively sterile hospital room. This expands the subtextual space that AI simply cannot replicate.
I want to leave you with this provocative thought today. If AI is fundamentally trained to eliminate the unsaid, can it ever truly understand the human condition? In a world increasingly obsessed with explicit data, token efficiency, and algorithmic summaries, the true value of human creativity lies exactly in what we choose not to say. Keep forcing your readers to read between the lines, to be active participants in the narrative, because right now that is the one place the machines just can't follow. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.